Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the controversy surrounding Sherri Tenpenny? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. So first I'll look at the background in this case. I'll move to the timeline of the controversies, then offer my analysis. Sherri Tenpenny was born sometime around 1958. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in 1980 and earned a Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine degree in 1984. She was the director of an emergency department in a hospital in Ohio for 12 years, starting in 1986. In 1994, while she was at the hospital, she opened a private practice. By 2011, she would have 2 more practices. At some point, Tenpenny became a conspiracy theorist. She's anti-vaccination. She believes in chemtrails. She thinks that 5G is destructive. She believes that microchips are being used to track people. And she believes that evil conspirators are trying to dominate the world, largely by using 5G, microchips, chemtrails, and all these other items in her conspiracy. In 2015, she was scheduled for a speaking tour in Australia, but because of concerns about her views, all the venues canceled her speaking engagements and her tour was terminated. Starting in 2017, Tenpenny and a business associate sold a 6-week course titled Mastering Vaccine Info Boot Camp. She charged about $600 for the course. The purpose of this course, other than to make Tenpenny money, is to sow seeds of doubt regarding vaccine information. During the COVID pandemic, Tenpenny spread misinformation about masks and COVID vaccines. Let's take a look at a few of the false claims she made specifically about vaccines. She claimed that the COVID vaccines would cause death and autoimmune diseases. This, of course, is not true. She claimed the vaccines did not have the proper testing, could cause fertility problems, and contributed to long-term health problems. Her claims run counter to the actual scientific evidence. As far as the fertility piece, this false claim that vaccines cause infertility, she claimed that one drug company advised people who had the vaccine to avoid unprotected sex. The suggestion here is that the vaccine could affect sperm DNA, which it does not, according to scientific research. Tenpenny connected her false claim to a conspiracy by Satanists who are out to destroy the world. It appears as though what Tenpenny did in this instance was to misinterpret documents produced in reference to vaccines. For example, in the clinical trial for the vaccine to which she was referring, the guidance indicated that it would be a good idea to avoid getting pregnant during the actual clinical trial. This is fairly standard. Tenpenny expanded on this point to build out this whole misinformation campaign, referring to the vaccine in general, not just the clinical trial, trying to make it seem, again, as if the vaccine was causing infertility. She also threw in a few Satanists to round out the conspiracy theory. I guess her motto is, don't forget to add Satan. An analysis performed in March of 2021 demonstrated that Tenpenny was one of 12 people responsible for producing about 65% of all vaccine misinformation on Twitter and Facebook. In June of 2021, Tenpenny was called as an expert witness for the Ohio House Health Committee. She made the false claim that the COVID-19 vaccines would lead people to being magnetized. So she was trying to say that people would essentially become magnets if they had the vaccine. In addition, she implicated 5G as part of her misinformation, suggesting that there was some type of interface between the material in the vaccine and 5G. Maybe she was talking about like 5G activating it or something and making it magnetic. It's not really clear. She didn't explain the nonsense. She said that people have stuck keys to their forehead and put spoons and forks all over themselves. Interestingly, instead of laughing hysterically, the representatives thanked Tenpenny for testifying, with one even going so far as to say that a podcast that Tenpenny hosts is enlightening in terms of thinking. I don't think there was much thinking going on. Evidently, Tenpenny has stood by her testimony of misinformation, falsely claiming that 5,000 people in the United States have died as a result of the vaccines. The actual number is 0. Going back to the false claim of people becoming magnetized, after Tenpenny testified, a nurse named Johanna Overholt attempted to defend Tenpenny's testimony by placing a key and hairpin against her chest and neck. She wanted to know if somebody could explain how this was happening, as she put a key on her neck and the key simply fell off. It didn't stick. It was not a good demonstration for her. Or one could argue it was a great demonstration to prove how ridiculous her theory was. If she wants an explanation of what happened, here's what it would be. She failed to apply any critical thinking skills. It really is as simple as that. None of this involves magnetism or science, for that matter. There are many problems with this particular false claim about the magnetism, but just to name a few, many of the objects people are trying to stick to themselves are non-ferrous. With most coins and keys, we see a lot of metals like zinc, brass, aluminum. They don't contain iron. And of course, the COVID vaccines don't contain any metals. So really, again, none of this makes any sense. Under Tenpenny's false magnetism claims, a new type of supervillain could be born, the vaccine collector. This villain goes out and gets thousands of vaccines in order to compete with Magneto from the X-Men. It's an origin story that can appeal to conspiracy theorists. The new villain goes around trying to steal coins and keys to build forces to resist evil conspirators, only to realize his lack of critical thinking skills has led him to a predictable destination of failure. Tenpenny is wasting her time with these conspiracy theories. She should put her creative energy into comic books. Now moving to my analysis. Sherri Tenpenny has attracted attention because of her more public false claims surrounding COVID, but she has been a conspiracy theorist for quite some time and has produced a lot of nonsensical documentation. She likes to write a lot. I was able to find quite a bit of it, and I read through some of it. One item that she wrote was a book titled Saying No to Vaccines. The subtitle claims it's a resource guide for all ages, which would only be true if the resource somebody was seeking was nonsense. Although I guess one could argue that it's a resource that helps people understand conspiratorial thinking. Looking at that book and other documents that she has written, here's a summary of her false claims regarding vaccines. Vaccines lead to all kinds of problems, including diseases. The adverse reaction rate has been suppressed by scientists. Patients are not given informed consent. There is no proof that vaccines are safe or effective. Drug companies are out of control and part of a global conspiracy. So here we see familiar misinformation, the type being spread by many anti-vaccination conspiracy theorists. So in one sense, Sherri Tenpenny isn't really that original. Tenpenny follows a familiar pattern for this group. She reads scientific literature and pulls findings out of context, misinterprets the findings, or distorts them entirely, and then builds a fanciful narrative around them that involves people worshiping Satan, evil conspirators, world domination, the same old thing we see many times. I think the real key is how it plugs into that larger narrative. That's what really gives these conspiracy theories the energy to keep moving forward. If it was just little isolated conspiracies or events that were negative, it wouldn't really have the same energy and force to it. All this stuff about vaccines, 5G, and all these other things reinforce a fear-based belief about highly organized evildoers. One could argue that conspiracy theorists are really just trying to prove one thing at the core, and they collect these little theories along the way to build up toward that main theory. Tenpenny's message is only attractive to a relatively small audience, but the group is highly engaged. They feel disconnected from the world, like no one shares their beliefs. They are alone. Tenpenny makes them feel like somebody understands them and advocates for them. These anti-vaccination people, or those who have vaccine hesitancy, don't understand how logic works. They look at somebody like Tenpenny and say, well, she's a physician, and she says one thing. Other physicians and scientists say another thing. Therefore, I'm going to be hesitant because it looks like there's confusion on the topic. But that's not actually true. there's a remarkable consensus that vaccines are safe and effective. There are very few physicians and scientists who promote nonsense like Tenpenny does. The people who believe Tenpenny simply want to believe. They are looking for any excuse, and she is that excuse. It ties into the wider narrative of 5G and other technologies being used by evil agents. This brings me to the next question. Is somebody like Tenpenny really causing a lot of damage, or are most people simply dismissing her nonsense out of hand? In a way, could she be inadvertently helping to some degree by showing people how ridiculous the anti-vaccination nonsense really is? Like here you have a physician literally saying that people are being magnetized. Who could possibly believe this? It's highlighting the poor critical thinking skills. I've seen this argument that Tenpenny can actually be helpful, but I disagree. The people who would laugh at her ridiculous claims are already not anti-vaccination. I think Tenpenny is dangerous precisely because she is a physician. People wind up believing her, or it raises some doubt. What's amazing about Tenpenny is how she's like a bad penny, in the sense that no matter how many times she is dismissed as promoting nonsense, like her speeches being canceled and people realizing that the vaccine is not magnetizing people, she keeps turning up. Her information is out there. It's easy to get a hold of. A lot of people have read it. I believe that this Tenpenny situation highlights the route that needs to be taken to combat misinformation for those who maintain extreme and nonsensical beliefs. It's not about telling people the truth. It's about building critical thinking skills so they can determine the truth for themselves. If someone cannot reason effectively, they will fall victim to people like Sherri Tenpenny. They will even go so far as to seek her out, no matter how difficult it becomes to find the misinformation that she promotes. Those are my thoughts on the controversy surrounding Sherri Tenpenny. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be interesting. Thanks for watching.